Hey, welcome back. Today I'm going to be starting a new series and it's going to be the longest one ever. It's probably going to take through the end of the month to finish recording all the videos for it. And so I'm going to give you a quick overview of the direction we're going with the channel for the next few weeks. So number one, I started working on the website a bit. And for this series, there's going to be a full written tutorial for every single video. So I've been working on my writing skills the past couple of weeks since I've gotten pretty rusty. I haven't written any programming articles in a long time. So I've started working on this. So I've developed the website out a little more and set up a WordPress instance. And so there's going to be a series of videos. It's going to be roughly 12 parts is how I have it planned out so far. And so what I'm going to be doing is revisiting this technical screener app, but adding a lot more bells and whistles and turning it into a full-blown, full stack Python application and talking about how to make this application more sophisticated, both in the fact that we'll deploy it, but also we'll use a database, we'll set up some alerts and notifications, have some automatic trading and things like that. So yeah, there was a question down here on this one that said, how do you deploy it? And so we could use a cloud like AWS, let it run forever in the background. And once it detects a desired pattern, it sends out a notification. So we're going to talk about some topics like that in this tutorial. And so keep an eye out on the website. I'm going to be posting articles along with each video so that if you want to follow along in written form and copy and paste snippets of code, you can do that as well. So that's one of my goals, to build out the website a little more. So if you remember, a couple of months ago, I created a tutorial video on building a technical screener web app. So we built this web interface, we listed all the candlestick patterns in TAlib, we made a scan button to detect these patterns. It would go through all these CSV files and load them into pandas data frames and apply technical indicators, and then spit out all these charts and whether the bearish or bullish pattern was detected. Looks like a lot of bearish engulfing patterns the last couple days, as of Friday. So yeah, so that's how this is working now. And I committed all of the CSV files that's generated to the GitHub repository, but you'll notice, yeah, that becomes a little unmanageable over time. So we have like all these CSV files, right, for every single symbol. So this whole series is going to start off with a few videos on database design and SQL. So the first video, the one I'll be recording now, is going to be about database design and porting CSV files, these flat files, into a relational database so that it's a little easier to manage. Like, so if a stock symbol changes names or once gets delisted and we delete it, we don't have to find the file and delete it. Managing hundreds of files like that isn't necessarily the best idea, especially if you're running a multi-user web application. So secondly, we'll talk a little bit about SQL queries. So I'll show you how to select data, slice and dice it, aggregate it, calculate sums, all in SQL, and also select very specific date ranges. So if you're interested in just the last week or splitting up your historical data into different time frames, we can use SQL to select only the data we need rather than reading in entire files. Next, we'll talk about Python and SQL. So I'm going to show you the intro to SQL on the command line, just so you know how to write SQL queries. If you're unfamiliar, if you already do, or you can skip, if you know any of these topics, actually, you can skip ahead. But the third video is going to be on Python and SQL. So getting those SQL queries, having Python execute those, and dynamically filling our database. So we're going to hit all of those Yahoo Finance endpoints to get market data, but then we're going to use Python to execute all these queries to insert all these rows in a nice relational database. After that, after we have our data in a great format, we're going to talk about job scheduling. So a while back, when I built that web application, I just snapshotted all the data up till August or so, but it's October now, so we need to keep that data up to date. So I want to talk about scheduling programs to run, so Python scripts to run with cron or Windows Scheduler if you're using Windows, and to automatically get new price data without us doing anything and keep a data set up to date, a database up to date, right? So that's job scheduling. Once we have all the data and it's continuously up to date, we'll build a web dashboard front end to it. So we'll have this nice web interface that we can browse the price data, click around, drill down to specific symbols, apply multiple indicators, that sort of thing. So we'll make this UI a little more sophisticated, maybe add some color, some good layout, make it a little nicer, right? After we have a web dashboard, we want to apply our technical indicators. Previously, I used TAlib against these CSV files, right? We loaded CSV files into a data frame, but now that we're not going to use CSV files, we're going to use a SQL database. I'm going to talk about how to use pandas with SQL. So to query a relational database and return that data into a pandas data frame for further analysis, right? Which leads into part 7. Technical screening. So we want to use our library. So we used TAlib before. I thought we might try something else. Some people mentioned they have problems with TAlib on Windows, and there's other libraries out there. So I don't want to make this all about TAlib when we're using technical analysis library. So I thought we'll probably try this tulip indicator. So try that out. Maybe this will be more handy to us. So we'll do a tutorial on tulip, this tulip indicators library. Okay, and we'll use that for some technical screening, and we'll do more technical screening than just these patterns. We'll try to incorporate some of these other indicators that are listed. It looks like tulip indicators has 104 indicators now, so yeah, let's try to use more of those in this example. So we'll create a few drop downs and maybe allow some numeric inputs and so forth to screen, maybe find some more powerful signals than what we focused on in the past. After that, I'm going to talk about users and authentication. So since we're going to be deploying a web application to an actual server that's out there in the world, we want to lock it down, right? It's fine to just do a read-only application and not have user authentication if it's just going to be, this scanner and we want anyone to use it, any anonymous person to use it, that's fine. But in this case, I want to go a little bit further in this tutorial and actually have some authentication. That way the user can have some preferences. So the user would be you in this case, and maybe you could go in and say, save some screens to your account, right? Or save some indicators or settings that you're interested in, and it can be tied to your user account. And then also we can incorporate some actual real trading. And if we want to let something trade our account, right, we want to make sure we verify that the person giving it permission is actually who they say they are, right? Okay, and then after that, once we have the ability to lock it down, we'll add a little bit of trading UI. So maybe here on the side here, you'll be able to actually, click some buttons and make some trades based on this screen. So some manual trades, but then also we will do some automation, right? So in part 10 and 11, we'll do some alerts and notifications. So maybe you'll be able to save a setting to your user account that says, notify me when a certain pattern hits or a certain threshold is hit on some technical indicator, right? And so we could just send an email report at the end of the day. So we'll talk about how to send email from Python, but also how you could probably send SMS using Twilio or to a special email address that will actually forward it to an SMS text message. So we'll talk about how to do that. And also, so that could be like an end of the day thing that happens using our job scheduler, right? We can scan for whatever your account settings are and then send some emails with a list of trades, and maybe you can take action from your email. But also, maybe we want to do something intraday, so do some more real time where we snapshot things every few minutes or check on the candles every 5 minutes, and then maybe send an emails and notifications intraday. In addition to that, we might want to say when a condition happens, not only send an email, but maybe certain ones we want it to automatically place trades for them. We don't want to have to intervene. And so let's talk about automating some trades based on our technical settings and just having this whole system be where we can just kind of set it and forget it once we configure our user preferences one time. And then finally, once we have this all set up like we want, I want to talk a little bit more about server configuration and deployment. So how this site goes onto a server and even configure a domain. So we could have like mytradingsite.com and configure that and have this all running and this kind of set and forget system, or something where we can go, check on, our own little trading dashboard, right? And so, yeah, let's talk about how to build a full stack web application. And I'm going to show you for servers. I'm going to focus on a couple of different server setups I like. I actually usually use a virtual server on Linode or DigitalOcean. The website here is on DigitalOcean. So the discussion board and this blog, but also I have client sites and other sites that run on Linode. I have had a web application for a client running for over 10 years now on Linode, so I trust that quite a bit as well because I've never really managed it very much. So these are cheap options. They're only like $5 a month. I think you get a ton of free credits too. So I'm going to talk about how to actually get your application online. Okay. Yeah, so be on the lookout. All these will appear as articles, and I'm going to go through them in order, and you can follow along if you want to copy snippets of code. And then all this will be searchable by Google, which looks nice. I want to make a little bit more of an effort going forward on the website and building this up. The other thing I've added to the website is a place to put your email address. I know I've talked about doing this in an old video about building up an email list, so I'm getting to that point now where I would like to do this. And so if you want to receive some notifications on updates to the site and articles, and also I'm starting to think about putting all of this into a longer form course. This is actually going to be fairly long, 12 parts here. This is actually in a course in itself. I'm doing, this absolutely free, but I'm starting to think in terms of building a very sophisticated series of applications and from scratch, starting at the beginning of everything we've learned on this channel and building up over time into a really polished course format, which I would actually charge money for and put on Teachable is what I'm thinking as the platform. And so if you're interested in something like that, then leave your email address and you'll get an email whenever it's ready. This is something that won't happen until next year. It's going to take me a long time to really write all this out like I want it. I have this vision in my head of what a good Python for Traders course would look like, and I want to fully write this out over the course of 6 months to a year or something like that. It's going to take me a long time. So there's that. Yeah, so blog posts will appear here, and also I will now mention donations. There's a Buy Me a Coffee page that I set up like a month ago, and people have been using it, and I want to thank everyone again that's contributed so far. So this is just people have said they found values in the videos and they want to donate $5, for instance. And so going back, it's been a couple of weeks. So I want to thank all these people. Taka, who is in Japan, thank you very much. He's into Go and Python. I do want to learn some Go at some point. It's getting very popular in the last few years here. Klaus, thank you very much. Darius, Bitwalk, Sebastian, I appreciate the contribution. Amit says don't become an alcoholic. Thank you. I won't. I've learned the hard way. That's a bad way to go. Parvinder bought me 5 drinks. Very generous. I appreciate it. He's looking for some help. I don't know if I'll have time. I'm getting a lot of inquiries lately about debugging people's code or being a consultant, and I just don't have enough time in the day for now. I want to just do these videos in my spare time when it's convenient. Otherwise, I tried to do some consulting for a bit, and it just kind of burnt me out because I already have a job and lots of obligations, and also like to have a good time out on the town. So I don't want any extra deadlines or to owe anyone anything necessarily. So that's the reason I'm not doing a lot of these consulting projects when people ask about them. Mike, thank you very much. I'm glad you found it helpful for a TD Ameritrade, and I do want to get a Raspberry Pi at some point. Actually, I should probably just order one. They're like $50 or something, right? I'd like to play around with them as like a little a small server to set up somewhere. So that'd be very cool. Jose, thank you very much. Ramahan, thank you. Daniel Williams, appreciate it. He asked if I've considered setting up GitHub sponsors and if they want a recurring contribution. I guess I could do that. I don't know. I didn't know if anyone would be interested in recurring. The reason I chose Buy Me a Coffee instead of Patreon, because I figured people might just want to do a one-time $5 thing and not commit to some recurring contribution. But maybe if people want to do that, yeah, maybe I'll add it to the GitHub. We'll see. Yeah, for now, I think this is working pretty well. People contributing $5 here and there when they feel like it. And like I said, I think if I want to ask for more, most of these things are just going to be free, but if I want to ask for more, I think I should make a really polished course that's really well done, that shows you how to build something very advanced, and it's going to be like over 40 hours of content. So that's what I'll be working towards if I want people to make larger contributions. I want to give something big. Dan, yes, I've emailed Dan about this. We'll see if we can get that resolved. And Gerson, thank you very much as well. So thanks to everyone that contributed. I'll leave a link below if anyone else finds value in this videos and wants to make a donation. It will be there. under the donate link. So yeah, that's about it. That's where we're going with the channel. This is 12 parts at least. I haven't even finished it yet, but it's outlined, and that's what I'm predicting right now. And if so, this is going to be the direction of the channel for the rest of the month. So for the rest of October, I'll continually post these articles, post a video, and you can follow along. And at the end of the month, maybe you'll have an entire web application of your own hosted on a server from scratch, which will be a really cool outcome. So follow along, sign up for the email list, make a donation, and thanks a lot everyone for watching. Let's go ahead and get started with building this project.